Hey everyone, this is Leslie Chamberlain with the Alumni Sharing Knowledge Program at DePaul University. This year, this week, we are celebrating 1 year with our new platform where we host over 1,200 alumni to answer questions about jobs, internships, careers, major, life. Alumni are here to support students and their fellow alumni. To celebrate, we're going to start now asking some alumni some questions about their work experience, their life experiences, their experiences with mentorship. And we wanted to start with someone who's a dear friend, a former colleague, and an all-around great guy to be around, Drew DePriest. So first, I'm just going to start off. Drew, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Certainly. So happy birthday, by the way. One is a big milestone. Thrilled to be here. Leslie is one of the most joyful, helpful people on the planet you'll ever encounter. So if this is your first time seeing Leslie or hearing her talk, please make sure you fix this and go visit her for any guidance she may have as a mentor as well. So as she mentioned, my name is Drew DePriest. I'm a 2X alum of CalStat. Decided that one round through wasn't near enough and wanted to come back for a second time through. I spent a couple years teaching Marketing 376, Effective Business Communication, which is where Leslie and I really got to know each other's funny quirks, if you will, and just really learned how to kind of mentor and guide students collectively. So it's been cool to watch you go through this since. My goodness, it's been 4 or 5 years since I retired my adjunct hat. On the professional side, my day job, I have spent, my goodness, how many years has it been now? 14 years since undergrad, working in the technology for the built environment industry. So anything that involves keeping people comfortable and having light they can see by and technology they can use well within the workplace has been my life for about 14 years. It currently finds me at Aon, coming from you live from the 7th floor of the Aon Center in the northeast corner of the Loop. I work on our internal technology team. So my team owns for every Aon office globally, how do people collaborate? So from a digital perspective, what software do we use? From a physical perspective, what gear and equipment do we put in a conference room? How do we teach people how to use it? And it's to the tune of around 50,000 Aon colleagues worldwide. So we have the challenge and the pleasure of service, basically, of finding the right technology stack that helps all of our fellow employees do their best work. So it's a lot of fun. It's a big challenge, but it's a lot of fun as well. So I do try to sprinkle in some mentorship engagements when I can, and stuff like this. Doing it digitally, quite honestly, is one of the easiest ways to have impact. So was very thrilled to see this note in my inbox a few weeks ago.
It's great having you part of the team, Drew, with that mutual admiration foundation. Yes. We are glad to have you around. I know you've had so many great experiences in your career. So you've always been the guy that is really up on what's going on. What I share with students about you is you're the guy who was use Twitter to your best ability, like no one else can. And so you're really up on what's going on. And I'd love to ask you, how do you see your field growing in the next few years? And what would you tell students to do to be prepared to be working alongside you?
Sure. So the field that I work in, just workplace is kind of a broad general term, is going through a bit of a renaissance right now. It's been fascinating to watch and to be a part of, in that the state of technology makes it such that anyone can work from anywhere and be just as effective in many cases from home or from Starbucks or from the beach as they would if they were sitting in an office. So it's presented a bit of a challenge to companies of every size. how do we provide for a workforce that's evolving, that doesn't necessarily want to come to an office every day, and in many cases don't have to. So that piece has been, the last 5 years probably won't look anything like the next two. It's just moving so quickly. So it's something that, from my perspective and from my colleagues' perspectives, both at Aon and other companies, it's a field that I feel like not many students know much about or know that it's necessarily an option. There's no major for workplace technology. There's no major for, we're kind of a subset of real estate in general. So if you have any, eyes or passion for, it's very much a service leadership type of a career path, and that if you're doing your job well, someone else in your company who may work in sales or marketing or finance, they have a better day. They can communicate with a client more effectively. They can close more deals. So that's kind of what drives us internally. We're focused on the colleague experience. So even though we're not selling anything, we're not necessarily driving revenue for the company, we still have a pretty big role to play in making sure that those people that do can do it easily and they're not frustrated and angry with their laptop or their headset or whatever they happen to be using. So in terms of being prepared to come work in this type of industry, it's like I would tell any of the students that I meet with generally, it's you cannot ever stop learning. And that lesson was taught to me probably my second year in my career. I was working in the automated HVAC world, which is a lot more interesting and exciting than that tagline makes it sound. But I had an oops one day that was fairly significant in a large building downtown. Program that I wrote didn't do what it was supposed to do. Nobody got hurt. There wasn't a whole lot of money that got wasted in the process. And I remember being pulled aside by an engineer who worked in the building, who'd been there for 30 years plus. Just put his arm around me and he just kind of looked at me. He's like, "So that was interesting, huh?" He was like, "Yeah, I don't want to hear about it." And he will never forget, just very calmly, he said, "Well, did you learn something?" And I said, "Yeah, I know what not to do now." And Joe was this guy's name, and I'll never forget. It's like, well, that should be your new rule from here on out. If you can go every day with learning one new thing, you're going to make mistakes. Just accept it now. I was 22, 23 years old, and no one makes mistakes when they're 22 or 23 years old. And it just kind of sunk in, like, all right, so it's okay to be human. It's okay to be vulnerable. Learn something new every day. And in the world that I work in, things move so quickly that is absolutely, it's a must. It has to be done.
That's so, and first of all, what a Vincentian career you have. Service leadership, serving other people, but also, being very in tune of the service that's been done for you and the mentors who have served you. So that was a really clear message from a mentor in your first job. Can you share with us a mentor you had while you were in school that shared with you something in a way that changed your perspective on something, or maybe just a little story that kind of guided you to where you are today?
Yes. So there are a handful of people that really sort of struck a chord with me throughout undergrad, through grad school. It goes as far back. I can still remember. So I went through engineering at U of I down in Champaign, which I don't think I really fully appreciated the weight of the whole thing until about year two, as it was pummeling me on a weekly basis. And I will never, ever forget, we had a TA. And in Champaign, most everything is you'll go to lecture with a professor, and then you have a discussion section with a TA 2 or 3 times a week. And in one of my physics classes that was just destroying the confidence of everyone around me, it was so difficult. It was such new content going through it. There was a guy named John Safira, and I will never forget this guy's name, he was a grad student himself. He was working his way through his PhD. He would come to discussion sections in his pajamas. He had cool flannel pants and his favorite band's t-shirt. and then would just answer everyone's question. And he would also host when we had a midterm coming up or a final coming up. John would just voluntarily host study sessions where he would cover, here's what's coming on the next test, here's what to study, here's what not to worry about too much, and then help you kind of, walk through things as you needed. And there was, I can't remember when it was maybe after a study session, somewhere sophomore, junior year, and someone asked him this question about something along the lines of the cliche of when are we ever going to need to know how to do this? Naturally, John went into this very philosophical, poetic defense and ended on something that kind of changed how I looked at school forever. He said, your whole purpose in going to college is to learn how to learn. So the second you figure that out and you get really good at it, get out, finish what you're doing and go take that and go do big things with it. So learn how to learn kind of became a personal mantra the whole way, because it works well if you're going into grad school, when you're starting your new career. I can't say enough how much that helped me early of, your first day of your first new job, you're effectively going to be handed a laptop and maybe a cell phone and say, all right, here you go figure it out. And you have to be able to figure that out for yourself in order to progress and be successful.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it. I think that's what it's a tough lesson to learn, right? Because you think you're going to school, so you're learning all of these things so you can do stuff, but it's bigger than that. It's bigger than that.
It's growth more than anything, and everyone needs that kind of aha moment at some point in their life, and fortunately, I was able to get that early, relatively speaking.
That's incredibly valuable to get that lesson really early on. So you're talking about learning to learn and what you really gain in school. What's the stuff? What's the formal education stuff that you use, that you learned in school, that you use on a daily basis? Is there anything that you say, oh, I'm so glad I really paid attention in that class to learn that thing because I use it all the time?
So keeping in mind, huge grain of salt, how massively biased I am for the content, because it's the connection you and I have. It was my favorite class in grad school. It's the class that I taught for 2 years. I cannot overstate how important effective business communication has been. The volume of emails that I send and read these days, I go to bed at night, I wake up and I already have 30 emails from Europe, from Australia. Written communication is still massively important.
Yeah.
And regardless of what field you go into, if you're in sales, if you're in management, if you're in finance, you are going to have to persuade someone. Everyone is selling all the time. And that is still to this day, 2 master's degrees, an undergrad program, 14 years in the workforce, like the basics of EBC, of Marketing 376, unless they've renamed it since. I use that every day, like every hour, it feels like. I'm still chunking paragraphs in emails. I'm still, every slide is more or less built the way that you learn in that class. People don't know what to do with it when they see it either, because I've had people ask, your emails look weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you responded and we got whatever question we needed answered done. I'm like, yeah, you're right. That only took like 30 minutes and 2 tries. It usually takes me 4 days. Well, there's a certain method to the madness, and that was more of my grad school mentor, so Joel Whalen, who you and I both know quite well.
Yeah, absolutely. Uncle Joel.
Uncle Joel continues to be an influence. So it's the soft skills for me personally have been tremendously helpful ever since 10 years ago when I first learned about it.
I think one of the best parts about all of that is that you just told a story about formal education that led into the fact that it was your mentor really who gave you that formal education. So no matter what you're doing, it still comes back to people that support you and people that say, hey, I'm going to get behind you on this. I'm going to teach you some things. I'm going to give you some advice, and I'm going to learn from you as well. It's really important. I can't say it enough. It's really important. So what are 3 things you think students should do when seeking mentorship?
Let's see, 3 things. One, don't rely just on email. The channels of communication today are near infinite, it feels like, and it grows every day. LinkedIn is huge. I've had students reach out, just add me as a connection and include a personalized invitation, so there's some context behind it. Twitter, as you mentioned, is great for interacting with folks you don't know. So use that to your advantage. 2, and this is especially for students in DePaul, in the city, which is what I used to tell my students, and you did the same thing. You're going to school in one of the largest metropolitan business hubs on the face of the planet.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to throw some darts. It's when I was going to college in the cornfields and the cow pastures down in Champaign, it was a stretch to get FaceTime, with somebody in business. So while at the same time understanding that some mentors may not have as free of a calendar as they might like to go grab coffee, like don't be afraid to throw that out of, hey, I'll be somewhere near your office next week. Would you be open to grabbing coffee for a half hour? And then I would say 3rd, be specific in your focus. Bring something, be upfront, be candid of, hey, I'm looking to go into this particular field. I have 2 very specific questions I want to talk about. So that way that gives the mentor time to prep for it and know what he or she is walking into, so they can be most effective to help you out. That's 3, right? Yeah, that's the top 3.
It's 3 great choices. It's 3 great things, Drew.
Yeah. I'm trying to follow your directions, my friend.
Yeah. and you know what, Drew? I'm really thankful, and I want to just take this opportunity to say I'm really thankful for you and the time that you continue to give DePaul students since you were teaching here, and continue to be a part of our DePaul family. And I think it's really important to let students know that people like you, who are funny and smart and talented and successful, want to help students, want to connect with students, and want to share what you have. It's that I tell students, throwing around that student card is really valuable, because people like helping people. And I think our DePaul community is a great example of that, a really shining example of that. So
very much so, and it's reflective in people like you as well. There's an excitement, there's a general sense of paying it forward. And I have to imagine, if I were to ask you the same question about mentors in your life, that you've got a couple of very distinct examples that probably come to mind that stick out. And it's the right thing to do. A lot of us share that view of, someone in my life 20, however many years ago, took their time and had a real impact, and that, there's a connection there. So anytime you can pay that forward and make yourself available, it's the right thing to do. It's the DePaul spirit you were talking about earlier. So it's all good stuff.
Thanks so much, Drew. I appreciate you taking time today, sharing your time, as you always do, for students and alumni. It's really valuable having you as a part of our DePaul family. So thank you so much. And thank you to everyone else who came and viewed this today. We're going to continue to connect with alumni that are super fantastic, just like Drew DePriest. There's a ton of folks out there that want to connect with you. What do you want to know? There are folks out there that want to help you. So thanks so much. You can find us at ask.depaul.edu or DePaulAskNetwork.com to go directly to find some alumni to connect with. And have a great day. Hi, folks. I want to let you know that you can connect with folks just like Drew, and Drew specifically, at the DePaul ASK Network at DePaulAskNetwork.com. You can find alumni and the like who are there to support you. And go ahead today and connect with some alumni. Ask them for 15 minutes of their time. Find out what you're curious about and ask those questions.